So you've rigged your camera for an overhead shot, but now, how the hell do you light a subject when you're looking straight down at it? Good question. We're going to show you how and more. Welcome to Pull My Focus, Adventures in the World of Digital Filmmaking, where we give you the inside tips you need to make great video. I was just working on a script, old school style. That way when Spuds ask me for a copy of the script, I have to fax it to him. Drives him nuts.
Oh my God, Frank, I'm gonna kick your...
In our overhead rigging video, we showed you some film grip techniques for rigging cameras overhead to shoot straight down. It was well received, and we got some comments and questions. Serial Killer Documentaries asked how to light an overhead top-down shot for cooking videos. He's using a Canon 70D with a 35mm Rokinon, which is a great lens, and he would like some advice. Good question. What? What's the matter? Okay, so he has a channel about serial killer documentaries, and now he wants to branch out into cooking shows. The man has hobbies. Besides, welcome to the wonderful yet weird world of YouTube. All right, let's break it down into the 3 points: lighting, depth of field, and ISO. You moved your camera drastically. You're pointing it straight down at your subject. So how the hell do you light it when you're looking at it from that angle? Simple. No different than you normally do, except for maybe one light. You see, just because you're pointing the camera straight down doesn't mean the sun has changed. It's still coming in the window from the same angle. Your viewers can tell that you're shooting a top-down shot, so they expect the angle of the key light, the sun, to be the same. So what light is the exception? The fill light. See, the fill light's purpose is to light, or that is, fill in the shadows, therefore allowing you to set the desired contrast range of your shot. It can come from any angle. In this room it does. Walls, ceilings. But I tend to like to fill from the camera when possible, because it's the shadows that the camera can see that I'm concerned about, and those are the ones that I want to add light to adjust the contrast range in my shot. So to add fill light for an overhead shot, I would recommend raising your soft light up on the stand about the height of the camera and move it closer to the camera. This might be a problem because the table might be in the way and maybe your soft light or softbox doesn't tilt down that well like mine, but that's fine. Generally, unless you're super high above the table, it's not really going to be that much of a problem. If it is, you can also bounce light, like I do with these LED pars, into the ceiling, and sometimes I use a softbox and I bounce into the ceiling. Or you could do what I did, put daylight balanced CFLs in that horrible overhead light that you never use. Now it's useful. But filling from the side can work too. Bouncing your key right back into your subject. We cover that more in a video on Tabletop. This styrofoam from a packing box from Amazon. Watch it light up that typewriter. Because we're close to our subject in this rig, we have a shallower depth of field. That is the distance between the closest and farthest object in our shot that are considered in focus. The farther out you focus, the wider the range of depth of field you have. The closer, the smaller. Is there a way to determine what the focal range is beforehand? Yes, there is. There are various tables for that, and we're going to use one from dofmaster.com. Our camera, a 70D, is about 2 feet, 3 inches off the table surface. Where is that measured from, you ask? Good question. The front of the lens? No. It's measured from the focal plane of your camera where it focuses your image. In our case, where the digital sensor is. Look for this symbol on your camera to denote that focal plane. I look up the 70D on a depth of field table for a 35mm focal length. Gives me a focus distance from 2 feet, which is 3 inches off our table surface. At f5.6, I see my near and far focus distances, and I realize I have a total range of roughly 2 inches. Okay, that is small. What if I show hands coming in, or it's a taller object? If you want them in focus, you'll need more depth of field. How do you get it? You either stop down your f-stop, raise your camera higher, or a combination of the two. At f5.6, focused at 2 feet, we know we have a 2-inch focal range. Checking our table, at f8, we get 3.5 inches, and at f11, 5 inches. Okay, that helps. If I were to raise the camera another foot to 3.3 inches, right? The farther away I focus, the wider my focal range, I would get this. At f5.6, a 6-inch focal range. At f8, an 8-inch. And at f11, a 12-inch, a full foot focal range. But I've also, by raising the camera, widened my shot. And that might be too much of a compromise. I may need to split the difference and raise the camera 6 inches and stop down to an f8. But wait, it's easy to say stop down the f-stop, but what if you don't have enough light to do it? Especially when shooting with a DSLR, and in this case, with a native ISO of 200. Well, you can augment your window daylight with softboxes. Just make sure they come from the direction of the window, that they're daylight balanced and they're diffused. We go into more detail in another video we've done on how to light daylight interiors. You can also move your lights close to the edge of frame if you have to get more power out of them. Another option, you can increase your ISO. Normally I shoot with my C100, which has a native ISO of 850, which is basically 2 stops higher than the 200 ISO of the 7D. If I up the ISO of the 7D to 400, that's 1 additional stop of light. If I up it to 800 ISO, that's 2 stops of additional light. That can make all the difference in giving me that little bit of extra focus I need that's critical for a top-down shot. But there's a give and take here. Just like in the days of film, when higher film speeds meant a larger silver highlight grain, that meant that faster film speeds gave you grainier images. With digital cameras, it means our version of graininess, which is image noise. We really see it in the blacks, and the higher you go, everywhere. It's great to have choices, but how do you decide? What are the right settings? Here's the thing, filmmaking can be a very technical craft, and it's very easy at times to get bogged down into those technical details to a fault. The answer? Shoot tests. Even experienced DPs with ASC at the end of their name shoot tests. Because in the end, what matters is what you see. So choose based on what's going to complement the look you're going for. The scene, shot, your video, your project. You choose. I shoot tests all the time and send the clips to Spuds, who color corrects them, color grades them, and gives me insight on what he thinks is going to work in the final edit. It may end up that a contrasty look is what's going to work, and so therefore I'm not going to sweat the fill as much. Shoot tests at different f-stops. Look at them side by side to compare. Sometimes it's okay if the hand is slightly out of focus because the focus and the attention is on the plate. What's going on the plate? That's the hero of the shot. Shoot tests of the different ISOs for your camera on your rig and then compare them side by side. You might find that 400 or 800 ISO is totally fine for the look that you're going for, especially if your viewers watch it on one of these, except for our subscriber Biggie, who he watches us on 4K. Why would you do that to yourself? I know at times I talked about focus marks and measuring 2 feet 3 inches and all that. Most of the time though, since we don't have cine lenses with really good marks and gradations and a dedicated first AC measuring out everything for us, you're going to focus probably the way I do, which is you either zoom all the way in to a specific point that you choose to focus on all the time, or use the magnify button. In the case with the typewriter, I was using the 5 key. That worked perfect for me to give me that range. Another thing to keep in mind, when you're focused in on that point, right, when you zoom it in and you focus back out to whatever, 35 millimeters here in this case, that range of focus, generally what's going to happen is it's going to spread around that point you focused, and about 1/3 of it is going to be closer to the camera, and generally 2/3 is past it. That's roughly the general rule. Hope that was helpful. Let us know any other questions you have and how you deal with these issues for your top-down rigs. Make sure to check out pullmyfocus.tv for the companion articles. We'll be going into a little bit more detail. Or if you just don't like to watch video and you'd rather read it, which is totally fine, but then what are you doing here? What are you doing? So check out our other videos on all kinds of other subjects, including how to lighten daylight, and maybe I'm going to do one on how to shoot in a cloudy day, because I just lost my son. Great. It's never cloudy in California. What is happening to the world?